Okay, oops, I didn't mean to have that up. All right, so what about questions about Module 4? You want me to just kind of start going over it? Will that help everybody? Because this chapter is probably, the toughest, but it seemed like all of you guys really understood loops and um, arrays, as we call this chapter, is really a combination of being able to handle, well, as a matter of fact, in Python, they're called lists, but in other languages, they're called arrays. And so what you see here in the Module 4 instructions is the HeadFirst Chapter 4 in the PDF. There's some things that we'll go ahead and try to go through some of this together, and then you can just upload the screenshot, because the HeadFirst book is pretty easy to follow, and I like to go through it and then go over a little bit of Unit 6 in MindTap. So let me call that up. But I'll pause right here and see, did y'all have anything specific that you wanted me to do today? Or will this kind of help?
It's something about the HeadFirst I actually had a question about.
Okay, well, that's what I'm going to do right now.
Okay.
Would that be good?
Yes.
Okay, let's go into, let me get this book open for some reason. It's not. There it is. Okay, so in here, what I was saying was it's page 149, page 33. Okay. Yeah, in the PDF, the page numbers are a little different. So that's, if anybody has the hard version of the books, why I did both. Okay, so we're going to go over first in the HeadFirst book. Now, I know I went ahead and assigned the Unit 6 test in MindTap, which goes over things a little differently. But this is kind of, I like the way this book explains things. A lot of students can kind of catch it better here. So that's why I kind of do it as an introduction. And there are some other videos on this too. But this is just a way of storing data other than in an individual variable. And just a variable name can have different values depending upon how many, if it's declared as an array. And so that's what this part talks about. It's they're going to go ahead and throughout the HeadFirst book, they've been developing a program, and I had y'all do, I think, chapter 1 and a couple of other things in HeadFirst. But the reason I usually don't cover a lot of it is because it gives you the answers and everything right throughout the book. But I feel like it might help if I go ahead and do that today. So here they're saying it's like a surf contest. And so they're going to keep all the surf scores. And so the scoreboard is currently empty. And so they don't know who won the contest. So they need to find the highest score in the results file. So we haven't dealt with files yet. What we've done so far is we've asked the user for input one piece of data at a time. And in a loop, we did it that way by going through the loop at each time asking for a piece of data. Well, sometimes you can process a file, like when we did the GPAs on the test, we could have created a GPA file with all different GPAs in it and had the loop read in the file instead, one line at a time, instead of asking the user every time for a piece of data. So that's what we're going to do here, is we're going to assume that these are everybody's scores, and they've already been typed into a text file called results.txt. And we're going to look at what that file looks like here in just a second. So you need to write a program that reads through each of these lines and picks out the score, and then works out the highest score in the surfathon. So it sounds simple enough, except for one small detail. You've written programs to read data from the web and to read data that's been placed in at the keyboard, but you haven't yet written any code that reads data stored in a file. So you remember we wrote one in the very beginning in chapter 2 of this book, I believe it was, where it read in an HTML file and you had to search and find where a certain piece of data was in that file. So here we're going to iterate through the file with the open, for, and close pattern. So here's the Python statement that will do that. Result F, they're just giving a variable name for the file. They just came up with result_F to say it's a file holding results. Equals open results.txt. Now, something that's so important here is that you have to give the exact file name in quotes. And so if you did a capital R there, it wouldn't find that file because it's named results.txt. Let me show you that that's what it's named. If we go over here to, where this class is, let me go HeadFirst. Okay, this was chapter 4, right? I think it is. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so in chapter 4, you see there's a file named results.txt. And there it has all those scores, but it has the names of the people beside it, which is going to give us a little hassle here in a minute. But first, we're only interested in the scores. But this is exactly what the file looks like. And see, its name is results.txt. So what I did what they do when they type it in is they just open like in, say, a text program like Notepad or something like that and create a text file with the data in it. So the open file is assigned to, they're calling it a file handle, which is really just a variable name. It creates a file handle, which is a shorthand that you'll use to refer to the file. So once you open it, from there on out, you can refer to the file like this. Then Python gives you the for loop for just this purpose. And you had, we did talk about for loops. I just didn't make you use one on the test. So in arrays, dealing with arrays, or in Python, they're referred to a lot of times as list, you will use a for loop because a for loop will automatically end when it's at the end of the file. You don't have to test for that. So it's showing you here in a little picture demonstration that when you're reading a file, the entire file is fed into a for loop like a shredder. Note, unlike a real shredder, the for loop shredder doesn't destroy your data, it just chops it into lines. Because in Python or any language, you can't read the whole entire file at once. You dump it into a variable name, and then you've got to separate it one line at a time. So a for loop will do that automatically for you. So it breaks it up into line at a time chunks. So here's an example. This is, and it's referred to as iterating through the data in a file. So right after the open, which is not part of the loop, then you build a for loop. And it says for each line in result F, and you notice there's a colon because that's Python code. That's not pseudocode or flowcharting code. But in Python, you have to put a colon at the end of the for loop. And then this is the body of the for loop. And all it's saying is print each line. And then after so this for loop will keep going until it gets to the end of the file, and then it will drop out and close the file. So those are built-in functions. Result F dot close with parentheses. remember that means a function. So it's going to execute a function called close that's part of Python. Okay, next, here's the code magnets that they tell you, you need to complete the code to find the highest score in the results.txt file. Remember, the for loop creates a string from each line in the file. So it shows you what you need in order to solve this problem. And so this is what that I had you do, I believe, to do a screenshot is 119. Is that what the instructions say to do? Let me see. Complete through page or page 119. Okay, yeah, that's where we're at, is 119. Okay, so what we're going to do is, for the sake of time, and if you want to do this with me, you can, because I believe I gave this to you. If I didn't, you can do it afterwards if you just want to watch. So I'm going to open this up in idle instead of PyCharm. So let me, and if you haven't been working with idle, you can do it in PyCharm also. It's just, I like this because it's easier for you to see on the screen in idle than I think PyCharm with the black background. I know there's a way to fix PyCharm up too, but anyway, this is the actual code that is there in the HeadFirst book. So what they did is they set a variable up called highest score because they want to determine with an if statement what the highest score is. Let me make sure. Is that where we're at? Let's see here. Is that the one they're, yeah, that's the one they're doing here. Okay, so this is the one, only I've just got it already typed in here. So what they did is they did the open built-in function for this file, and you'll notice inside here something that's really important. This results.txt file, actually I use another one sometimes too. I'll see what this one is. Okay, this one is the one without the names in there. We'll do something with it. But see, this has to be in the same folder as the actual Python file. If it's not, it won't find this file. So if you're getting file not found, then that means you've got this sitting over here or somewhere outside of the same folder. Okay, so here is 4-line in result F. So this is the Python code to process this file. And what this is saying, use a function, built-in function called split. And here, before we do this, I'm going to, just a second, I'm going to make a simpler version first. Let's see, I thought I had one. What does this do? Nope, that one's not. So if I just wanted to print the file out like that first one was, okay, I'm going to go here and do file, new file. Come on, where did it go? Oh, it's over here. Okay, so I'm going to do everything the same, except I don't want to change this one. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to make it just print out the file first, because that's what that did in the book first. And I think it's a little easier that way to see what's going on. Okay, so this time, let's take this line out and just say, let me go back to that. What was the page where it just printed it out? Oh, they're already doing that part there. Print each line, that's what I want to do. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and say print. And it doesn't say each line in here, it's just going to say line because that's what I called it. See, instead of saying each line here in my program, I say line. So I won't have this yet because Actually, I'm just going to take this out. And now I'm going to save this as file, save as, let's see, print. Okay, so now if I run this one, it should look at this file and it's going to print out Johnny 8.65 in this case. Should print out the whole line each time. Oh, ran it over there. So when it ran, there's what it did. It just printed out each line in my file. Any questions? You guys speak up if you need better clarification of anything. Okay, so now on this one, then we're going to read that file. And because there is a name and a score, we don't need that name in order to calculate the highest score. But I want you to see what happens. So here, there's a built-in function that's like open and close that's part of Python, only it's called split. So it's going to take this variable line and it's going to split it. And it knows to split where it comes to a space. And it's going to put the first portion of the split line into a variable called name. And it's going to put the second one in a variable called score. So then the only one that we're interested in right now is the score. So it's going to say if, and score is a floated value. It's not an integer because it has a decimal. So it says if float subscore is great, that isn't a sub, that's actually just a variable. That type is greater than highest score. Well, the first time in the loop, what's highest score? Anybody? What's highest score first time in the loop? Where'd you guys go?
0.
So what's the highest score? What is it? What do we initialize highest score to be right up there? Oops, I don't know what happened there. Something. Okay. So what does it say highest score is right here? Highest score equals what?
0.
0. So the first score we're going to see is 8.65. And it says, is 8.65 greater than highest score? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, because 8.65 is greater than 0. Okay, the other guys that are there, do y'all understand that? Where we came up with that?
Yes.
Okay, that's too easy, right? Too easy. Okay, let's, let me see what this is. Okay, so now under the if statement, it says if score is higher than greatest score, then it's going to move the 8.65 to highest score. And so then it's going to try again. What's the next score? Okay, the next score is 9.12. So it says, is 9.12 greater than highest score? Yes. So now 9.12 is going to be highest score. Then it's going to go to the next one, 8.45. It's not higher, so it won't drop out. So it's going to check each one of these, but we've already got the highest score. So at the end, it should print out 9.12, right? So let's run it, see if it works. Oops, I always forget I ran it on the other side where y'all can't see it. There it is. The highest score was 9.12. But what happened? We know it's 9.12, but if we didn't see the results file, we only saw the run of the program. What do we not know? What did it not attach to the highest?
The person.
The person, very good. So in what we're doing right now, we're not going to be able to attach the person because it takes working with something in Python that we're not going to get to this semester. So we're not actually going to figure out which person it is. We just got the highest score. So down here, it says the judges also recorded the name of each surf contestant next to his or her score. This is a problem for the program only if the name was added to the results.txt file. So here's where they split it. Python strings have a bill. Okay, this is where it tells about that split function that I just talked about. Let's see what else they do here. That's where they split it. But I think in this chapter, we don't even talk about putting the name with it. It just shows you sorting how that works. So keep the data in files on the disk. Disk storage is persistent. If you yank the power cord, the computer doesn't forget the information written on the disk. But there is one real problem with manipulating data on a disk. It can be very slow. So what it's telling you is there's something in Python called sort, and it will actually sort variables on its own. That function will, and that's what this next part is doing. And we're not going to actually, well, we are going to do this part. This is the array element. Okay, so we sorted, okay, all we did, and you can go and read the details of HeadFirst because that helps you if you didn't understand what we just went through. But here, an array lets you manage a whole train of data at one time. So far, you've used variables to store only a single piece of data, but sometimes you want to refer to a whole bunch of data all at once. For that, you need a new type of variable called the array. And here again, if you watched the one on the Learn video guide that wears the ball cap, he calls it a list instead of an array because Python sometimes refers to it that. So when you watch that video, just understand those two terms are synonymous. And an array is just one type of data structure. And it's called a data structure because it's the way the data is structured in the variables, how they're structured this time. It's designed to group a whole bunch of data items together in one place and give them a name. Think of an array as a data train. Each car in the train is called an array element and can store a single piece of data. If you want to store a number in one element and a string in another, then you can. So each car is going to hold either a string or a number. It's harder, though, to process an array if it has mixed data types, but it is allowed in Python like that. So, for instance, this variable is called myArray, and you'll notice it has square brackets. So each element of the array or each train car has a different element in it. Even though an array contains a whole bunch of data items, the array itself is a single variable, which just so happens to contain a collection of data. Once your data is in an array, you can treat the array just like any other variable. So here it is. Python gives you arrays with list. Think of an array when you're actually using a Python list. For our purposes, think of Python list and arrays as essentially the same thing. So they do explain that in here. You create an array in Python like this. My words equals dudes, and you'll notice if it's a string variable, you have to put it in quotes, just like you always do when you assign a string to a variable. So here you pick out any array name that you want. It's like any variable name. So here's where they're saying print my words sub-0. Well, that's how you distinguish which one of the train cars or the array elements that you want to use is with what's called a subscript. And that's why it's in brackets. So sometimes it's called an index. And so a lot of times we'll use a variable called index to be able to iterate through the array. So arrays can be extended. You can say my words dot append, which means I want to add Betty's to the end of my array. because append, the word append means add. And so when you're using a function in Python that belongs to the array, then that's what the dot is for. Like when we did result f dot close, it was saying the close function belongs to the file result f. So whatever variable or object that you're talking about, you use that function, which here it's saying use append to this array and add Betty's to the end of it. So now we have 3 elements in the array, and it says print my words sub 2. Now you'll notice sub 2 is the 3rd element, because an array always starts with element 0. And I know growing up, we always learned that 0 was nothing. Well, in programming, 0 is something. It's there, it is a placeholder for something. So you always have to remember not to start, you can't start with 1, but the first array element is always in position 0. So you can tell it to start at position 1, but then you will skip whatever's in position 0. So here is the code for the second one using an array. Let's see what page this is. Let's see. Page 135. Okay, let's find this one. Okay, this one, let's see. Open file. Oh, it's gonna make me close it. Is this the new one? No. Okay, now it should let me, because for some reason it's not letting me open idle programs. Okay, so here it is. Now, you'll notice that the name of this array is called scores. And the reason I know is because I've initialized it to not have anything in it. You can put elements in it, but in this case, I'm going to load this file into this array one line at a time. So here it says result f equals open results.txt. Here's how it's changed. Instead of saying print here, we're saying scores.append float score. So each time it reads in a line here, it's going to take the score and add it to my array called scores. So when it prints out, it's just going to print the first 3. So let's see if this works. So the top scores were, but look, they're not in the right order, right? It printed out the same name by every one of them because I didn't change names. So whatever the last name was, it printed by each one. Any questions about why it did that? Let's see where results is. Let me make sure. Let's see. Yeah, see the last one it read in was the name Aaron, and I didn't tell it to change the names. So that's why it printed out Aaron at the very end, because that's the name that was in there. But then it printed out scores sub 0, which was the first one we read in from our results file, was 865, 912, and 845. So in my array called scores, if I printed out every one of them, it would print all the way down to 8.31, but it would print the name Aaron by each one. Okay, so that's what they got. Look, crap, the program is printing out the 3 scores all right, but it's not printing out the top 3 scores in order, and there's confusion about who won. Okay. So we need to sort the array before displaying the results, because if we sort it and use a function called sort, then the highest one is already going to be in the right order. So This looks complicated. Aren't we doing all this to make the code simpler and easier to maintain? I wonder if the array has any built-in methods that might help. And methods are the same as functions, remember. So by closely examining the array of boxes, you can sort them by arranging the boxes in biggest to smallest order. So here are some built-in functions or methods that are part of all arrays. And it tells you what each of these do. You have one called count, which sorts the array into, oh, that's not the one. Count is going to, oh, you're supposed to, let's do the ones that are already fixed. Count, if you come down here, it tells you how many times a value is in the array. Here's one called extend, adds a list of items to an array. Index looks for an item and returns its index value. Insert adds an item at any index location. Pop sorts the array into a specified, oh wait, no, that's the right one. Pop removes and returns the last array item. Remove removes and returns the first array item. Reverse reverses the order of the array. Now that's something we're going to use too before the semester's out, is reverse. And sort is what we want to use right now because we want it to take the array once we've read it in and sort it lowest to highest. But then if we use reverse, it will have the highest on top. So that's what we're going to do here. So in our program, we're going to add scores.sort and scores.reverse and then print it out. So let's see what this does. Oh, I'm going to have to close idle again. Oh, why did it do that again? Okay, so there's two of them there. No, that's the wrong one. So it didn't let me do that. Okay, it's not letting me. Okay, here we go. Let me get it over here where you can see it. Okay, so what we've done now in our program is we took these two lines out, and each time we read this file, oh, the reason is because you notice I changed this file also to results 119. So I wanted to work with just this file, which has just the scores. So I changed the name of the file here. So I say, each time you read for score in result F, and you notice all I did was change the variable name to score. I can use score here, and then the name of the array or list is scores. So this one is going to append. You remember append just adds each score to the end of the array. Then if I didn't do append, it would just create one score and write over the top of it each time. So this particular program is going to print out 7 scores, right? 0 through 6. So let's see if it works. Get it over there. Come on. So there's what it was when it ran. The top scores were 9.12, 8.65, 8.45, exactly in order, because you'll notice here, oh, this is something I did a little different than in the book too. You can do it like this, scores.sort and scores.reverse, or you can give the sort the, it's called a oh, what is it called in there? All of a sudden my mind went blank. Let me see if it tells us in, I think it uses that. Let me see if it does it later on. No, I guess it did. array.reverse. Okay, these are all the things that you learn in this chapter. They didn't use it that way. Okay, this is just a shortcut that we sometimes do in class where you can say reverse equals true. If you don't put reverse in there, of course, then it's just going to sort it from lowest to highest. So that's a shortened version instead of doing it this way. But this way it works perfectly, just like it did in the book. Scores.sort and scores.reverse. Okay, you guys have any questions about how that works? That's what your first assignment with HeadFirst is. And that should give you a pretty good overview of arrays. That's a little easier than what happens in MindTap. You just upload a screenshot of what we did there with those. I think did I put those down? Okay, let me go back. Let me see if in the module I actually gave you all the programs or not. No, that's the example. If you need let me see what this says. Upload these 2 files and a screenshot. Oh yeah, okay. So you should be able to do it. If you need help, or you need those that I did in class or did in the video there with you guys, just let me know and I'll post them out there, but you shouldn't have any trouble with that. Okay, so then the next part, this is that guy that I was telling you with the, the ball cap. So he goes over doing it in Python using list and list functions. So you need to complete just those tutorials, those 2 exercises, and upload a screenshot. So those 2 things are the easy things to do that help you basically understand what you're going to be required to understand for the next test. And here's, okay, this is Unit 6 test, and then these are all the mind. Let me see what this one is. I think this is the MindTap one, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, this is the MindTap. So let's go over, and I'm going to go ahead and go through the MindTap ones. Oh, here are all those that we just did in class. Chapter 4.zip, HeadFirst PDF. So you don't even have to code them all yourself, but it would help you if you went through and made them work and then take this. But this is those ones. Then this is one that you do, and then Project 4. So we're not ready for that yet. All right, so I'm going to go up here and do the MindTap ones first. Let me see if it'll let me open that way. Have any of you guys tried the MindTap ones? No? Okay, so this is the first one. Because you need to read the chapter and take the test for the. Okay, come on. Okay, so what this one, oh, is this the first one? I guess so. Declare, in this lab, you complete a partially pre-written Python program that uses a list. That's why I have you do that video called List with that guy first. The program prompts the user to interactively enter 8 batting averages, which the program stores in an array. So instead of reading in a file in MindTap, they go ahead and have you enter 8 batting averages. And so what I sometimes do is I go ahead and do this in PyCharm or Idle. I download my code, and then I build a file so I don't have to keep testing it with those values. So let me get this, let me go ahead and get this one up. Let's see. And this is chapter 6. Yeah, this is the first one, and then I do one with a file. Okay, so, oh, close all this. Now it should let me. And if you guys want me to do this in PyCharm before I get off, you let me know, because I think we'll be able to get it without. I have no problem with you using PyCharm. I just used to use only idle. And then if you take script programming, they use PyCharm. So that's why I started using it more. Okay, so you'll notice in this program, I copied it exactly out of MindTap, and it is got all the comments in it. So this is like what I wanted you to do in test 2, and like whenever you do test 3, if you don't do pseudocode or flowcharting, you can comment your code like this is. Declare a named constant for array size here. So you know constants we put in all caps, and it's saying that this constant for the size of our list or our array is 8. So then we declare the array here. So remember, that's just a variable name, but we have to say that that variable is going to be an array. If you don't, then that's the only data type in Python that it does make you declare ahead of time. Like we don't have to say if it's an integer, if it's float, or any of that. But here, this is a loop to get batting averages from the user and assign to the array. So this says for blank in range 0 max averages, average string equals input enter a batting average equals float average string, and assign the value to the array. So here's the append, just like we did in the HeadFirst problem. So then we want to assign the first element in the array to be the minimum, and then the last one to be the maximum. Oh, I'm sorry. But we want the first element to begin with to be both, because we haven't read any of the other elements in. And then we're going to total those so we can average them. So we have another variable that we need to set up called total. For loop index in range 0 to max averages. So that's saying we're going to go through the for loop, starting with position 0, and whatever we've declared max averages to be, which in this case is 8, then we're going to read it in. So this is the actual problem that has to go in MindTap. Calculate the average of the 10 batting averages. But what I did, so that when we're testing it, I built the file with 8 in it. So let's go here so that we don't have to keep entering those in to see if our problem works. Okay, so what I did, if you look, there's a file called battingaverages.txt, and see, I just put in all the ones that it asks you to use in MindTap, and I built a text file called that. So now what I do is I say run. Oh, that one didn't run. I thought that worked, and it doesn't, because it's trying to convert a string to float. So where is it doing that? Averages, average F is open for AVG and AVGF batting average. Oh, it's trying to append. Usually lets me do that. Float batting average. I think that's the line it gave me the error in. So maybe it's going to make me say up here. Let's try this. Let's see if that works. No, it didn't. It's still telling me. Let me show you what it says. Come on. Well, Okay, so I'm probably going to have to declare this float up here. Okay, let me open let me take this, and it didn't let me. Okay, so let me open this one again. I don't know what's wrong with my idle that it doesn't let me. Or did it open it over there? Okay, here it is. All right, so let me see if this one runs, because it's supposed to ask for certain values. Yeah, it is. Okay, so I'm going to open my instructions here so I can see which ones. There's the values that it asked me to enter. So go back here and enter all those values. So it says, first of all, to enter 0.2, oops. What? Oh, 0.299 and 0.157. So it's looping through and it's asking for all these values. 8 should ask for 8. 0.203. This is what you put in MindTap. And 0.333, 0.270. Okay, so now that should be all it takes. There it is. Averages 0 is, okay, so it just printed them all out. Minimum batting average is 157, average batting average, and the maximum. So let's see if that's what it wanted. It should have come out just like it is, 157, 333, and 2365. Only thing I did extra was I put it to print every average out that it read in so that I could see that it did that. Okay, so that is the one that, and I think I gave those to you also. Let's see, because I usually try to give those to you since the way this works in MindTap is not too swift. Let me go back to here and see if I did put those in there. Oops, that one. Did I have a zip file? No, that's for the HeadFirst. Okay, I'll put all these in here so that if you struggle with those when you get to them in MindTap, you'll have the actual code that works in there, because you only have to do 2 in MindTap. If you notice, there's only that one and this one called searching an array for an exact match in Python. Because the ones that I have you do, this one, array loops, take the Python array for while loops HW and complete it where the comment says to add the code. So here's the Python scripts for the ones we did in class. So I'm going to include, let me see. Okay, so we did, these 2 are in the Unit 6 book here in the chapter. Let me go to where it is so you'll understand those instructions. Okay, so the ones, let me go to the sorting arrays using constant, searching an array. We don't do this portion, parallel arrays. I don't expect you to understand that part. only this one up here is the one that is the MindTap problem, and I'll include both of those so you all can look at it. This is the important part, using a for loop to process an array, because that's something that you'll need to know how to do to be able to do the last problem. And let me get those two that I said. Where is that? One of them is called DEP. Was not going to have to. Wasn't that what it was called? Let's see here. DEP1. Well, I guess it's going to make me download it because I want to see what these are so I can explain them. Okay, so this one that I have you download is simply going to load the array with all zeros. So this means counts is an array that has 6 elements, 0 through 5. And so if you had this, let me do this. If you had this array and you actually saw it in memory, what it would look like, this is the array counts. And if I had it set up, where I could draw it out, it would have elements. It would be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so the first 0 is in position 0. The second one's in position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has index elements 0 through 5, and it has 6 elements. So here it says DEP equals integer, input, enter DEP. I equals 0. So this is the position of the element in the array. This is something that we weren't doing in HeadFirst because it was saying, okay, the maximum number of elements in the array are 6. But here, when we start out, this is saying counts sub I, which I is 0. So it's saying in position 0 of the array counts, it is 0, because that's right here. Print counts. Then it says count sub DEP equals count sub DEP plus 1. So at this point, this element has 0 in it. So it's saying add 1 to 0. So it's going to print out counts as 1. This is how you process through an array with a while loop, just doing something to it. So let me download this so I can actually run it, because that doesn't let me run it. Not downloading it either. I got trouble with this the other day inside there. It's like a link or something. Okay. There it is. I never can find it. I was doing this the other day in Canvas. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to open it with idle. Maybe. Okay. So here we go. Counts are equal to all zeros. So I'm going to run this. Let's see what happens. So it comes over here and it says enter DEP. So it's wanting me to enter a value because it initialized counts with all zeros. So if I enter, say, a 5, and it's printing out, wait, it didn't take the DEP, did it? What did it do with that 5? trying to see what it did there. Integer input. Oh, this is just telling how many times it's going to go through the loop. That's what DEP is, because it's saying while DEP is not equal to 9s. So when I enter 9s, then it's going to stop. So it says print counts. So here's where it printed it all zeros. Then it says counts of DEP equals count. So it's just adding 1 to that, whatever's in that position. So when I put 5 in, it took what was in 5 and added 1 to it. And so then it prints it out and it's 1. So let's say I take position 3 and it added 1 to position 3 right here. So it prints what counts is before, and then it prints what counts is after that. So then if I go to position, see, now it's not going to find anything if I put like position 7 because my array doesn't have it in there. So it says list index out of range. So up here, I define my array to only have 6 elements. So if I try to go past 6 or the 6th element, then it's going to always give me this list out of range. So let's run it again. And this time I'm going to put all 9s when I'm ready to end. So here I put 4, 3, 5, 1. Then I got to put 1 in 0 position and 0, 1, 2. So I haven't used 2. So now I'm ready to end. So I should put 999 and it should end. And it did. So that's how I change elements in an array. I can just do this part, which shows me from 0 to 5, I want to print out one line of the array. So these are some things that I work with. Let me look at this one, because I gave this as part of your assignment. Okay, what is that one called? I don't see that it downloaded. Oh, excuse me. Okay, let's see.
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay, so this one, I don't know why it's not downloading for me. Let me see if I can just find it here in fundamentals. It should be called. EX. There it is. Okay. And I'm going to have to close Python. Okay, so here it is in the Python script. Oh, that's commented. Okay, so here's where I did the pseudocode for it up here at the top. That's what this is. But then if I actually look at the code, I have 2 functions that I put in here. That's why it's different. Because you will have to use functions in test 4. But I don't think in that arrays loops problem that I told you. But this is pretty easy, straightforward. See, here's the main part of the program starts here. Because these functions, it doesn't look at until they're called down here. So it says, I'm going to initialize 3 variables. One of them is a constant. I'm saying set index equal to 0 because I always want to start at position 0 in my array. And then I say this array is going to have 10 elements. Here's the name of the array, numbers. So I say while index is less than size, I'm going to loop. I can do it with a while loop. I can also do it with a for loop. Get numbers. So it's going to make a call to get numbers, and it's passing index 1. So where is index 1? I'm not using index 1 there. Equals input, enter a number. Okay, let's see if it works, because I think I maybe did a change there and didn't fix it. Yeah, I did this to show something. That's why that's in there. Get numbers, missing one required. Yeah, so what I really want to say, let me go back to, there was more than one copy of this over here. So I'm thinking that I did some modifications to it. Unit 6 PY, this is the other, that's one. This is one, let me see what this one is. Oh, it won't open that one. Okay, so in this one, what do I need to pass index, right? Not index 1. So I'm calling it index 1 there, that's what it is, but I have to put index down here to pass it. So I'm saying pass whatever index is, which in this first time through the loop, it's going to be 0. And so I'm going to pass back numbers, index 1. Why does that say index 2 equals? I don't know where index 2 is coming from. Because it has to return something in order. I'm not sure why I did that. I'll have to find which video has this in here so that I can see what I did there. Because to make this work, you're going to have to say pass that, and then you're going to have to return index 1 into, maybe this is what I was trying to do, index 2. And then you pass index 2. Okay, let's see what this does if I run it that way. Okay, so it did run. Let's go over here. It says enter a number. So I'm just going to enter a 5. Oops, list assignment. What size did I make the array? Size equals 10. I don't know what that did. If it's less than size, then index 2 equals get numbers sub index. I'm not sure what that's doing there. I'll have to look this up on that video and see what I did in that one, because that doesn't make sense. So you do have in here several things to do before you get to this anyway. So we may do this on Wednesday. I will do another, because I always had class at 9:30 on Monday and Wednesday. So we'll go on to this then. Let me go ahead and put this up here so you know that goes with that. So you should be able to do this assignment and this assignment, unit 6, and the mind cap assignments here. And then this one I'll go over on Wednesday. And this talks about, this is another mind tap down here with using these file input file instructions, but you don't have to be that far. If you get all of this done before Wednesday, then you'll be on task. If you don't, of course, I always still take it. But, you know, this is week 7, I believe. So next week, the last day of class, next Wednesday, which will be, let me look on the calendar, what we got left. Okay, this is the 27th. Yeah, next Wednesday, the 13th. This is the week before, or I'm sorry, wait a minute. This week is the week before finals week. So that means Wednesday, we're going to go over this stuff. Monday, we'll go over all the answers, and then I will give the test 4 on the 6th and 7th. So I'll probably, or actually, I'm probably going to do it on the 6th. I'll give a daytime Zoom and an evening Zoom. And then we will be done if you don't need to take the final. If you missed one of the tests, test 1 through 4, or you want to take the final to get a higher grade on one of those tests, you can do that this week. But the final week before finals is here, and I'll probably do the final on this day, the 11th. But that kind of gives you a heads up, because this week we're working on arrays, and so Wednesday I'll have another lecture and give the rest of the assignments, and I'll assign project 4 because that's what test 4 will be like. And then on Monday, we'll go over project 4 and any questions that you have about arrays. And then we'll have the test on Wednesday. Then we'll be done. Okay, you guys had some questions. I heard somebody click in.
The HeadFirst chapter, do you just want us to submit the screenshot?
On which one?
HeadFirst.
Yes. Yeah, you need to actually run the program though, type it in, or since I gave them all to you,
Yeah.
you know, at least make it yours where you kind of play with it a minute and make sure you understand that it works, and then do a screenshot.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Well, you guys, I will be here again 9:30 on Wednesday morning then. Okay. And anybody that wants to come in, or you can watch the video, either way. But it helps me to have students in there to talk about things. So anyway, if somebody comes in, that'll be great. So I will see you guys on Wednesday then. Have a good rest of the day. Let's see here if I can find how to end it. Let's see here.